This is the last video lecture under Factories Act 1948, which covers the role of the inspectors. Now, as you can see on your screen, the inspecting staff under the Factories Act consists of an inspector, chief inspector, additional inspectors, joint chief inspectors, and deputy chief inspectors. These five inspectors, they constitute the inspecting staff who are given different kinds of powers and duties under the Act to ensure effective implementation of the provisions. The inspecting staff is appointed by the state government, and every district magistrate is the inspector for his or her district. The powers of the inspectors enable them to investigate any industrial accident or dangerous occurrence by taking evidence, photographs, documents, etc. And the powers are very wide in nature, which equip them to avoid or at least minimize to a great extent the chances of dangerous accidents, either due to leakage of any dangerous substances or even otherwise. And these powers have been conferred on the inspectors, keeping in view the Bhopal gas tragedy. As discussed in the previous lecture, the main reason why the hazardous processes provisions were passed was keeping in mind the Bhopal gas tragedy. Likewise, the powers of the inspectors have also been modified, keeping in view the same. So, the inspectors are to discharge all the duties and functions as required under the provisions of the Act. What are the different kinds of powers of the inspectors? They have the power to enter any place which they believe is used as a factory. They can examine the premises, the plant, the machinery, any articles or substances that are used in the factories. They can direct the occupier that either the premises or any part has to be left undisturbed for purposes of examination. Taking measurements, photographs, recording their findings, other documents for purposes of examination is done by the inspectors. They have the power to inquire into any accident or dangerous occurrence, whether it results in bodily injury or not, as well as take on the spot statements of persons who may be necessary for purposes of such inquiry. Furthermore, they can ask for production of registers, other documents related to the factory. If he or she has the reason to believe that an offense has been committed, they can seize the copy of any register, record, document from the occupier. In case any dangerous article is found in the premises, the inspector can direct the same to be left untouched, unattended. They can take possession of the same and detain it for as long as necessary for examination. The primary responsibility of ensuring the implementation of the Act lies with the inspectors, who have been given wide powers to ensure the same. So, the occupier at all time is mandated to cooperate with the inspector, and the inspector has the given powers to see that the nature of the work of the inspector is to see render as much if not more service in terms of supervision, regulation and control in which the management of the factory is concerned. So everything is the responsibility of the inspector. So the inspector is that leash or the check on the occupier of the factory to see that the occupier complies with all the provisions given under the statute. The ancillary staff along with the inspector is the certifying surgeon. Now, if you go back to the provisions of employment of young persons, it has been repeatedly emphasized that all young persons are to be employed only after given a proper certificate of fitness, and this fitness certificate is given by the certifying surgeons. So the certifying surgeons are expected to play an important role in eradicating the exploitation of young persons. They are appointed by the state government and are qualified medical practitioners for purposes of this act. They are authorized for medical examination of the workers and accordingly give certificate of their fitness. If at any point the certifying surgeon if it is found that the certifying surgeon is an occupier of the factory, or he becomes the occupier of a factory, or is either directly or indirectly interested in the business of the factory, then that person cannot be appointed as a certifying surgeon. The duties of the certifying surgeon are threefold. First, examination and certification of young persons. Second is examination of persons engaged in dangerous occupations or processes in factories. And third is medical supervision. Under medical supervision, they have to see that cases of illness which have occurred due to the nature of the manufacturing process or prevailing working conditions, then young persons are either employed or about to be employed in any work which is likely to cause injury to their health, and likelihood of injury to health of workers. So, by reason of any change in the manufacturing process carried on, or in the substance that is being used, or by reason of adoption of any new manufacturing process, or a new substance which is being added, used in the manufacturing process, if there is likelihood of any injury to the health of the workers who are employed in these manufacturing processes, the certifying surgeon has to medically supervise and prescribe necessary action to be taken by the occupier with respect to such workers. That completes your role of inspectors, certifying surgeon, the inspecting staff in general, and with that it completes the Factories Act. With that it completes the Factories Act. All the important provisions, chapters related to Factories Act are completed in these 8 video lectures. They are there on the website. You can visit these lectures as and when you want, in case you have any specific doubts or queries related to specific topics that are discussed in these lectures. We'll have one uh, Google Meet live for doubt clarification, if any. I shall intimate the date and time for the Google Meet also. Meanwhile, please make sure that you go through all these lectures. Apart from the provisions that are discussed in the video lectures here, other provisions that are there in the Factories Act are certain supplementary provisions and penalties, which you can go through in the Bare Act by yourself.